Welcome to the Mind of Psychic, where we talk music, addiction, comedy, culture. If you like this content, please leave feedback and subscribe. Let's get into it. Do you think listening to music gives ideas about doing drugs and illicit substances? Do you feel the connection when you're listening to a song? Does that make you want to do drugs, or is it just entertainment? Is it an experience? What is it? So these are all questions that I want to touch on in this episode. The reason I bring this up is because I have long been into music, and I've also, like I mentioned in every episode, been an addict. And I wonder if there's a correlation between the types of music I listen to and the addiction in itself. Meaning, am I more likely to use alcohol if I'm listening to a song about going to the bar and getting drunk? Or am I more prone to do explicit behaviors because I hear it in a song? As an adult, I would like to give my opinion of my actions are my actions, and music is just entertainment. Music to me gives that high, those endorphins, makes me happy, makes me want to get up and just feel happy. You're in that when you listen to that music and you're in that experience, and you just feel it. You can picture yourself almost in that other universe, in that song. Whether people will correlate the negative to addiction, so on and so forth, the question is, what about when you're a child and you listen to music and you listen to that kind of music? Meaning, if you're in the car when you were a kid and somebody was playing music and most likely playing the radio, you're not going to get so much negative, explicit, sexual, drug induced type lyrics on the radio. I mean, back in the 80s and 90s, it was there, but it wasn't so prevalent. Nowadays, there's all these streaming services. So that brings me to growing up now and them having experiences with those apps, so on and so forth, and the different type of music. And with music being out into the masses now, anybody can create music using like an iPhone, using whatever, an iPad, what have you. So everybody's making music and they're doing it their way. Back in the day, yeah, you had indie labels, but being able to record a song, a track, a record, a whole album, EP, LP, that was a whole different story. That would cost a lot of money up until probably, I want to say, mid 2000s. You would actually have to go to like a studio and rent out a studio, buy studio time, etc., etc. But now with all the different types of avenues you can do, there's more people that are putting out music. So does that mean, so since there's more music out there, there's more artists, there's more discussion, and there's not really a other than a label that says that went back to 1985 about explicit materials on the front part of the CD. It warns parents, it warns people that, hey, this has explicit material on it. It's not meant for children, et cetera, et cetera. Now you still have to use that when you upload music, but since there's so much more music now and so much content, do you think that because of that, people and kids are getting many more takes on that? Or how do you feel about that? I think since there's the music's already out there, the kids are going to find it one way or the other. The um, the point is the people monitoring that and in compliance on the platform side and parents, guardians, etc. They're the main parenting figure, so to speak. So they should definitely have that control number one. Do I think music will lead people to bad behavior? That can be a discussion. That's an opinion of mine that I don't feel that there's a direct correlation. I think it's more environmental and socioeconomic and so on and so forth. But that can be a very good point to bring up. But back to the music part, there are a lot of safeguards, which means that you have to be a particular age to sign on to these things. And they do give, meaning the platforms give, you know, discretion, and they tell you, like, hey, straight up, that this is explicit. You shouldn't be listening to this, yada, yada, yada. But they're going to listen. They're going to find a way, just like, you know, teenage kids, they're going to find a way to see explicit material. It's just a part of growing up. Now, regarding the addiction aspect and going back to, does listening to a particular genre, a particular subject of music, meaning if you're listening to a song about drugs, whether it's cocaine, whether it's heroin, whether it's meth, whether it's alcohol, any of any of them, is there a direct correlation, and will that step you to into drugs itself? So like a gateway. Me, I don't think so. I feel that I use it as a relief. I use it music as enjoyment. And even thinking back to all those years ago as a child, it was just, it made me feel happy. I didn't necessarily think of the lyrics. I just felt the beat. I felt the rhythm. I felt the chorus. I felt all of that good stuff. I didn't put the lyrics together until years later. Now, looking back on some of the stuff I was listening to, was it age appropriate? No. But I enjoyed it and it didn't cause me any anguish. That was the time that I was happy when I was listening to that music. I always have good thoughts about music, no matter what the content of the music, the subject. Um, One of my favorite songs of all time is Under the Bridge by Red Hot Chili Peppers. I remember rolling on my bike forever, just having that tape, that cassette just I would rewind it. I would listen to it over and over. And at that time, I didn't know it was about, you know, Anthony Kiedis addicted to heroin. I had no idea. But the way he expressed the words, the way he did that chorus, the way he, it was him. That's what I loved. It wasn't necessarily the lyrics. And I would say most people that listen to music or that love music that are audiophiles, it's something, it's hard to explain what music does to them. I would call it, you can call it a drug, but it's a good drug. I don't think it's harmful at the end of the day. Like I say over and over, it's entertainment and people could have their panties in a twist on will it affect this or that. I think that no. I honestly think that it's just music. I'm saying that from my point of view, that somebody may take lyrics a certain way, especially as a younger person. But if there's someone in their life that can explain that music is almost just like watching TV, it's another form of entertainment. And some people love watching TV. Some people love going to theater. Some people just love music. Some people love sports. These are all different hobbies. So when you go deep into it, you could say something negative about pretty much anything. And you can call out this and call out that. Um, for a negative, I could just remember the Columbine shooting back in 1999. I was 13 and I remember listening to the radio in my mom's car. And I remember them saying something to the effect that the news was saying that Marilyn Manson and rock and those type of genres of music were to blame. And even as a 13-year-old, I'm thinking, no, that makes no sense. They're artists. They're there to perform. They're there to act. They're there for this, to enjoy. They're trying to give out enjoyment. But other people have different ideas and different thoughts about that. Now that's always been my since that time, and I've steadfast with that same opinion. It's just music. It's when you take it, and if you take it to the next degree, don't blame the artist for making music. Blame if there's an issue or some type of violent in nature, blame the person that did it. You can't blame that because that would just be like blaming something on watching a movie. It doesn't make sense to me. Now, regarding the parental aspect of it, should they be buying explicit music for their kids? That's that has to do with that parent and how they feel about it. It's their choice. Same thing with movies, same thing with magazines. The child aspect of it is a little bit more in depth because it goes back to how one needs to raise their child or raise their grandkids or any type of parental aspect of it all. Kids aren't gonna they're gonna listen to something and they're gonna be like, okay, I like it. So that's with that. Now, going to late teens to adulthood, will particular music cause an increase in wanting to do drugs, wanting to feeling some sort of way? Now, I can tell you from experience, listening to music, never did I blame anybody for my actions in regard to, am I blaming the entertainment for what I've done? Now, is it cool to listen to a good song while you're drinking? Will you drink more if you hear your song like, oh, let's do a shot. Here's my favorite jam. That I would say more than not, you're in a bar, let's say, or you're with buddies, you're having a good time, and you guys start drinking. That hit comes on, that's entertainment. That's not real. Hopefully you know that. Now, now let's say you're listening to a song about, cocaine. Let's say you're listening to something that's more addictive and stuff like that, heroin. Now, music about drugs have been going on since existence of music in one form or not another. Can't blame one thing. They're all experiences. They're all experiences, and artists are artists. They're going to be different. They're going to have different experiences, different ways of growing up. A lot of them have pain. A lot of them didn't have that support, but that's their art. So saying that, having that idea of, you know, my kid started doing fentanyl because they heard of a rapper talking about it in their music. I'm not saying that it can't happen, but in my opinion, I think more than not, it's they're not going to. Just like someone brings up doing robberies or, killing someone, it's not all going to be it goes back to the music. No. And I can give an example for each one of those. And again, this is my opinion. And the reason I'm talking about this is because it's been on my mind the more I've done this podcast, and I've been talking about addiction and thinking about it. And I had a conversation with a buddy of mine, and I asked him, like, what would be a good next episode? And he said, you know what? What about addiction and music, listening to music that talks about drugs? Will that lean into and make someone become an addict? So I thought it was a really good idea, and that's why I'm doing it. And the more and more I've been thinking about it, there's been, I think, an increase of blaming in recent years. And regardless of it being fair or anything like that, life isn't fair. We all know that. Especially as addicts, we know that it's not fair. But if we can get that happiness through something that's supportive, that's not hurting anyone, even themselves, get that enjoyment out. And whatever that enjoyment is, as long as it doesn't hurt others or hurt yourself, I think it's fair game. Mine is music, and it always has been. You know, just having that Going back to having that feeling, it makes I can't describe it. When I'm listening to a song, when I have my headphones in, when I'm driving in my car, it's these experiences that I feel, that I think, that are I feel enjoyment. It's just an experience. And I would take listening to music, I would take listening to explicit music, songs about sex, songs about drugs, all of that. It's the experience of what you're in. Yes, you can take lyrics to a particular realism. However, you can also use your own meaning of those lyrics into your own life, into how you feel. Like you can have a song primarily about, let's say, drugs, for instance, and you can relate it, you may be able to relate it to something positive because it's the tone, it's the feel, it's that sort of thing. So, what I'm saying is that when people sing, rap about music, they're just trying to express themselves, have fun. Nowadays, you can have your buddies just chilling and you can just be sitting around and just start listening to music. And hey, even start recording. I think it's productive. I think it's a good outlet for your anger if you have it, for your addiction if you have it, for anything, even if you just wanna chill. I mean, there's been studies that, listening to music reduces blood pressure, makes you happier, and I feel that. I really do. Not a science person, but I honestly think that having music in your life makes you a happier person. So at the end of the day, do I think, to be honest, even listening to songs about drugs, I don't think will send you on that path. For instance, for years, Black Sabbath, to a large portion of the population, was thought to be demonic witchcraft because of the heavy tones, because of the lyrics, because it was different. So when hip hop came through, because it was different, a lot of people thought it was bad. And now look at it. So all I'm saying is you can think one way or the other. It's music. Just feel it. So there is, in my opinion, as I said my opinion 15 times already in this episode, just go with it. Go with the beat, feel it, love it. Be in that zone. Life's hard. Life brings you struggles every single day. It doesn't matter if you're worth a billion, it doesn't matter if you're homeless. Life is hard no matter what. Now, is it harder with someone that is poor as opposed to wealthy? Yes. But what you can relate to is you can be a little bit happier if you listen to music, if you have that option and you choose that. Now, there's going to be a lot of different arguments about what I just said, which this is why we have this, is so we can talk about it. And having discourse about this is important. Just enjoy your life. We all have struggles. We all have those days. But honestly, if you have that music in your life, and it doesn't matter what genre, I listen to everything. My favorite, classic rock and hip hop. I have more hip hop than I do anything else. I've been in music for 25 years, always dabbled in it. It was always a release for me, good times and in bad. And I always had support with it. So I've always had good experiences and been told and encouraged to do, if you're going to do it, enjoy it, do your best. My mom would always, she would encourage me to, she would buy me music. I remember this one time I found this organ by the trash can. She actually let me bring it up to the porch because I was so into music, and I'm like, hey, this is something different. Now I think I was trying to play with it for maybe, let's say, 2 days. And then I'm like, oh, this isn't me. So we ended up throwing it away. She got upset because she got irritated because I didn't use it, which, is understandable. But, me being 14, 15, thinking that I'm going to do this, I'm going to be that person, I have that in my mind. I also wanted to be a chef at that time too. You got to love your music. If you love it, you love it. Have a discretion. You have to empower yourself and you have to feel good about what you're doing. And if you can do that, you can do anything. And on that note, see you next time. But what I'm getting at is having that support, and hopefully you can have that support, or you can support someone in that manner. And whether they make it or not, if they find enjoyment out of it, go for it. Be that support, because that may lead to something more positive than they're already in. Meaning, by them listening to the music, by them recording music, by them getting interested, maybe that'll divert them from using drugs or getting in with a bad crowd or something of that sort. Now, it may not, but it's worth a shot. So I'm going to sign off here by saying recovery is not a race. That's right. Recovery is not a race. Take your time. Thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe and leave a comment. You can hear me on all major platforms and socials under the Mind of Psychic podcast. See you next time.